Hello and welcome to Create and Inkspire. This is Amanda from Rise and Procrastinate. Today we're going to be playing with some alcohol inks, alcohol pearls, and alloys. So I am starting off with some alcohol inks, and I will pop the colors up on the screen here. And then I'm going to push them around with an airbrush. My airbrush is just a cheapo airbrush from Harbor Freight. I do have some other videos that I have played with my airbrush and alcohol inks over on my channel, which again, that is Rise and Procrastinate. I'm just going to put some more color here, and then I do spray it around with my airbrush again. I tend to use, here I'm spraying some denatured alcohol. You can spray isopropyl alcohol, denatured alcohol, whatever you want to call it, in a sprayer. You just do not want to spray the alcohol blending solution. The alcohol blending solution has resins in it, and it's not good to inhale those resins. So now I'm going to add some alcohol pearls and the alloys. This dark one that looks like copper is an alloy. It is called Mind. And then I added some more of my denatured alcohol in a spray, and then I'm adding the blending solution. And the blending solution acts as a binder with the alloys. If you do not put the blending solution in there with the alloy, the alloy will rub off on your hand when it dries. Now I did have some problems with that. You'll see later in the video with it rubbing off. I don't know if I didn't add enough of the blending solution or what the deal was. I tend to have problems with alcohol inks rubbing off anyway sometimes. So a lot of times I will seal my alcohol inks. I don't know if that's because I work in a cold basement, if they're heat or temperature sensitive, or what the deal is. And I do want to also mention, you did see me have a little like hand blower thing. That is the Tim Holtz Ranger marker spritzer. I don't have the fancy alcohol blower thing that just came out. I don't typically like to use the hand blower type tools. I've got nerve problems in my hands, so they hurt my hands. But I had done a couple previous tests with the alloys, and my airbrush, if I could think of words today. And it seemed like the airbrush dried the alloy too quickly for it to move around and spread out, because the alloys like to come together instead of spread out. It's just the nature of the product. So I didn't like the look that I was getting with the alloys in my airbrush, so I decided to use the spritzer, which didn't dry out the inks quite as quickly. So hence why I used the alcohol marker, or the marker spritzer. Anyway, so moving on, you saw me stamp the inside of my card. Now I have this little circle piece. This came from the inside of the a Spellbinders die that you'll see me use in a minute here for the front of the card. So I was just stamping a sentiment from the Simon Says Stamp Tiny Words Birthday Sentiments stamp set. And I did use an archival ink for that because I was using a foil paper. So the inside circle came from the Happy Birthday die here that you see. So now I'm going to matte this on black cardstock because I like the way it makes the colors pop. And as I'm gluing this down, you will see that I notice that the alcohol inks are getting all over my hand. And it is not because they are wet. They are very much dry. It was like a dry, dusty color was getting on my hands. It was not because they were wet. So here, as I'm rubbing it, yes, that. So I stopped and I sprayed it with a sealer, and I use a Krylon sealer. Hold on. I lie. I use Rustoleum Painter's Touch 2x Ultra Cover Gloss Clear. and it says it bonds to plastic. That's what I use. I know that there's a lot of people that use Kamar, I think it's called, for alcohol inks, because they say it doesn't make your alcohol ink run. I have never had that problem with this one, with the Rustoleum. So I will have that in my supply list. I've never had that problem. I spray it on very lightly, and I've never had a problem. I only do one coat. I spray it on very lightly, and I've never had a problem with it running or messing up my ink, my alcohol ink panels. So I decided to finish off this card very simply. I didn't want to cover up all the pretty ink and the alloy and whatnot, so I just put this die cut on here. And then once I had this on here, I was like, well, I kind of need something else. So in this die set, there are numbers and there is a little heart. So I cut the heart out of some scraps. Oh, and I finished it off with this circle, of course, once this dried. The Archival ink that I used, it does take a few minutes to dry, but it will dry on this shiny finish, so it just took a few minutes. So then I cut out of the scraps that I had from die cutting the Happy Birthday sentiment. I just cut these 3 little hearts, and I just fiddled around with them for a few minutes to decide where I wanted them to go, and then I glued them down flat. And that was really all there was to it. So I hope that you enjoyed the card today and maybe learned a little bit of something. I know it wasn't really an in-depth thing. It's just kind of just telling you to play around with your mediums. The alloys are fun to play with, and if you don't like using the hand tools, I highly suggest investing in a airbrush. I think it was like $60 or something at Harbor Freight. My airbrush was. It really wasn't an expensive tool, and I use it all the time with my alcohol inks. So if you do a lot of alcohol inks, it's worth the investment in my opinion. So again, I hope you enjoyed the card today, and as always, have a great day.